first of all, they voted for a 12-month delay for medium and large operators. That is something that wasn't in the original Commission proposal. But they also voted for an additional delay for micro and small operators, so for companies with less than 50 employees and 10 million euros in turnover. And they basically have a delay for until the 30th of June 2027.
Starting with the operators, their core obligations remain the same. They must still prepare a full due diligence statement, verify legality, deforestation-free status, and traceability. The only change is the new requirement to add this one-off annual quantity estimate. Now, when it comes to the first downstream operator, their role is dramatically simplified. No need to create due diligence statements for your sales orders. The only thing you have to do is keep the supplier information, traceability information, and record the due diligence statement in your database. This responsibility is limited to the first link now in the chain. So other downstream operators that are buying from downstream operators are now fully removed from scope, meaning that we do not need to record anything for EUDR. The Parliament also has removed the requirement to DDS at customs if you are a downstream operator. Moving on to the small and micro primary operators. Small micro primary operators are under the definition of the Commission, small and micro that produce themselves the materials in a low-risk country. The amendments on them is that they place the word one-off, one-time, simplified declaration, which means will be something that will not need to be repeated, but they do mention that only in major cases there might be a need to do this. Parliament also removed the grace period, so this means that once the regulation enters into force, the authorities must enforce it immediately. So even with all the amendments and the delays, the core of the regulation remains completely unchanged for the operators especially. So the deforestation-free rule is exactly the same as original draft. It's still commodities need to come from land that has not been deforested after 31st of December 2020. And none of the institutions propose to weaken or move this benchmark. Secondly, we also have the legality requirement that also remains fully intact, and all products need to be produced in compliance with the relevant laws in the country of production. And yeah, even though the timelines and responsibilities shift, we see that the fundamental expectations and goals of EUDR stay unchanged. And more in the practical side of things, operators also still need to do full traceability to the plot of land with precise geolocation coordinates for any plot above 4 hectares, and the core data requirements stay the same. The penalties also were something that was untouched by the amendments, and they stay exactly as they were originally designed, with max 4% of annual turnover in fine, confiscation of non-compliant goods or revenues from these goods, and so on. And finally, also the enforcement rates remain the same. The member states still must check 1% of the low risk, 3% of the standard risk, and 9% of the high risk operators.
So there's a couple of things here to keep in mind. Of course, the enforcement dates, which we already covered, range from no delay by the Commission to a 1-year delay for the Council and Parliament. For DDS obligations, we see that the Commission requests DDS only for operators, whereas downstream only passes on reference numbers. And this is the same for the Council and the Parliament, but the Parliament also says that from the first downstream operator onwards, you only use reference numbers. Then the downstream operator responsibilities, basically there's a new category under the Commission proposal, which states that you only trace and reference. For the Council, the position is similar or identical. And then for the parliamentary position, they go a step further and they simplify even more. So here, for example, exporters are exempted from customs DDS. For micro and small primary operators, which is a category that the EU has basically implemented now in relation to EUDR, there's a simplified regime. So we're also seeing for the first time now that a postal address is possible, and that, for example, some of them don't have to do a DDS if they are actually primary operators at micro and small, because that essentially means that they're from a low-risk EU country. And that is a way for them to also push through this zero-risk category without having to call it that. And that's, of course, been a bit of a precarious point in the last year of the EUDR is that they wanted this zero risk category but couldn't get it. And this is essentially through a backdoor solution, a way to get there.
So in early December, we expect now the institutions to begin any formal trilogue discussions. Of course, these are not the final negotiations yet, but we know that many of these deals are being done behind the scenes, and then there are the official moments for them to set it on the law now. Then between the 15th and the 18th of December, the Parliament is expected to adopt the first reading vote. And that is the moment where the Parliament will officially approve the version of the text. And this is the moment that allows institutions to open the formal trilogue, and then the law will be finalized. And if everything stays on schedule, we would expect during the late December window to have a revised regulation that would be adopted and published in the official journal